In 1973, community organizers in Chicago pushed for banks to extend mortgages to people in low-income areas. In 1977, the Chicago cause caught the attention of a Democratic-led Congress, which passed the Community Reinvestment Act. Democrat President Jimmy Carter signed the bill. The Community Reinvestment Act specifically designated Fannie Mae to issue mortgages to low-income people. The act also required the Federal Reserve to insure private banks only when their savings and loans match Community Reinvestment Act requirements. This would later play a role in failure of banks during the next decade's savings and loans crisis. During the late 1980s, Barack Obama began work as a community organizer in Chicago. He claims that advocating for housing issues is one of his proudest accomplishments. In 1993, newly elected Democrat President Bill Clinton ordered an expansion of the Community Reinvestment Act to increase mortgage credit for inner cities and distressed rural areas. Of course, there were still low-income people who didn't get loans. That's where public housing comes into play. In 1997, Barack Obama was elected to Illinois State Senate. There he co-authored legislation to give new tax credits for developers involved in public housing. 10 years later, as a U.S. Senator, Obama pushed for federal subsidies to developers. And as a presidential candidate, Obama has campaigned on the creation of an affordable housing trust fund that would give developers an estimated $500 million a year. So who are these developers? Valerie Jarrett is the CEO of Habitat Company. They managed Grove Park Plaza for 7 years, a community of 504 apartments subsidized by the federal government in Barack Obama's old state Senate district. The conditions of that complex deteriorated, with collapsed roofs and fire damage. 99 of the units are uninhabitable. Habitat also co-managed another subsidized property seized by the feds in 2006 for deteriorating conditions. Valerie Jarrett is a senior advisor to Barack Obama's campaign and a member of his finance committee. Allison Davis helped create Grove Park and has used government subsidies for rehabilitation programs in 1,500 apartments, mostly in Obama's old district. But the apartments have been plagued with horrible conditions, including plumbing problems leading to raw sewage leaking into the apartments. Davis was a major fundraiser for Obama's U.S. Senate campaign and worked with him at his former law firm, which sued banks for not issuing enough subprime loans to low-income people who couldn't afford them. Tony Rezko used government subsidies to rehab 1,000 apartments, but neglected to manage them. The buildings decayed until they were declared uninhabitable, taxpayer money down the drain, and affordable housing lost for Chicago families. Rezko has been a major fundraiser for Obama and helped him buy a house in 2005. All in all, 6 developers have personally contributed $175,000 to Obama's political campaigns. They've also helped raise hundreds of thousands of dollars more. Rezko alone raised $200,000 for Obama. Meanwhile, low-income families who were given loans as a result of the Community Reinvestment Act are undergoing foreclosure, which in turn hurts their credit scores. Low credit scores can prevent people from getting jobs and make it hard to get housing. But where are the low-income people of Chicago to turn to for affordable, safe housing anymore? In 2004, House Republicans pushed for more regulation as they began to realize problems with the loans at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. House Democrats and Fannie Mae CEO Franklin Raines said nothing was wrong with Fannie Mae. It was later learned that Raines was involved with fuzzy accounting that shifted losses to protect bonuses for executives. Franklin Raines is now an economic advisor to Barack Obama. In 2006, Republican Senator John McCain stood on the floor of the U.S. Senate and warned about an economic crisis as a result of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's lending practices, but Democrats blocked the bill. 2004 and 2006 were election years, and Democrats wanted to continue to advocate for so-called affordable housing by pushing bad loans on poor people. It's a cruel world that the Democrats and Barack Obama have created for low-income families. They promote mortgages that they can't afford and sit by as public housing wastes away, all while sitting on large piles of cash contributed to their campaigns by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and private developers. John McCain has never asked for an earmark. John McCain warned us about the housing crisis. John McCain is the clear choice for president in 2008.